Folks, I had jokes.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to episode 4 now? 5 of 4 of Dark Side Thoughts with the gang. Myself, Mr. Alex. You got Mr. Cooler. I guess you got Lil E Langston, and you also have the Big Tev, the Tevinator. So interesting week. I've done my research on the Jimmy Superfly Snuka one before. Like I heard other podcasts, not only the podcast that I listened to that I plugged last time, but like other podcasts that like really went into it. And I remember initially asking Kula, like, hey, what are your initial thoughts? I hadn't seen it yet. And he was like, they were very careful. And I didn't really understand what he meant until I watched it this morning. And I was just like, I was like, I see. I was like, they weren't trying to bait too much, as in the other episodes in which they baited a bit and got actual answers. But for the most part, like, he did it, obviously. Kula doesn't think so, but like, you know,
I never said that.
I have the text proof, so I could like overlay that on the episode. But it is what it is. But no, yeah, like it's it's a crazy situation because it's like you see how protected certain people are, and at the time he was Vince's top star. Like Superfly was a shit back then, and yeah, then that's what I'm saying. That's like John Cena pretty much back in the '80s, or maybe even like whatever. He was a top star back in the '80s, and huge attraction.
He was the B to Hogan's A. Like if there's a 1A, 1B, it's him and Hogan. Say it again.
The top of the mid card in that time.
Yeah.
Because he never really
was top of the mid card. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of obviously like the whole thing up until he actually went to court 30 years later was circumstantial at best. And I understand as to why they treated it as it's mainly circumstantial back in the 80s when that shit happened. Like, yeah, they had DNA testing, yeah, they had all this, but like they didn't really utilize it as much as they do now. And the fact that the autopsy file was never really like revealed was kind of until 30 years later, was kind of a big like sticking point to me. I'm like, why wouldn't you do that earlier? But like the whole story's fucked up because she was just like what, 19, 20? She was like 22 or something, right? When she died.
She died when she was 23 then. 22, 23.
So
22 years old, yeah. She got with him when she was 19.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
He was
I mean,
married,
like,
right?
yeah, and that's the other crazy shit. Like he was fully married, like had his life, and it shows like it shows the whole duality of the whole thing. Like wrestlers can lead double lives, like more so back then, not now as much because everybody's on Twitter, social media. Yeah. It's easier to be exposed with all these things. But in terms of back then, like back in before even social media, but like before the internet got huge in the 90s, like you could have two separate lives in two separate states. Like you could have apartment, job, blah, blah. You can have wife, kids, girlfriend, just like Superfly did. And it was just like that was one crazy part. I'm just like, how did nobody, for me, like women's intuition is a big thing. Honestly, like women are really good at figuring shit out. Like how did she not? Either she did figure it out and knew about it already. That's what I'm saying. Or what happened?
So they're good with interpreting some shit.
That's what I'm saying. They're good with interpreting like signals and shit that we give off. I know you want to say something sexist. That's why I have a smile on your face.
I want to say nothing.
But for the most part, I'm just saying like
good. If everyone is good at reading in between the lines, if they want to read between the lines, Some people
Guys
don't
are
want to.
compared to women are better at finding shit other men are.
That's
I'm sorry.
because guys don't want to, and women feel like
We
they
honestly
need.
don't give a fuck. That's what it is. We don't give a fuck. If you find
Yeah,
out, you find out.
they're gonna go
But
hard.
either way, like my thing is like either she knew about it and didn't care and didn't tell the family, or she just didn't know about it. Which at that time back in the day, like in the 80s, kind of hard to be able to tell. Like, hey, you're
Like,
always with him. You never hear a mention of family. You never get phone calls from a family. They didn't have cell phones back in the day, like we have now. Like it's.
And they said they were separated, right? Well,
supposedly.
Life as a wrestler, you're separated from everybody, so it's still like this crazy kind of thing where it's like you don't know really what to do, but at the same time, Nancy spoke to one of her sisters, and the sister said, "What are you doing?" So she knew. She probably just didn't know at a specific time. Like she probably didn't know in the beginning, and the emotions got too much for her. Like she really started to love and care for this guy.
Like she didn't understand the severity of it, right? What you're saying?
That as well. No, but what I'm saying, like Nancy probably fell so in love with this guy at this point, where he was probably telling her like they're separated, because honestly they are. Like they're not. He's not going home. He's going to her home. Like he's going to their town that she grew up in, that she lives in, and staying with that family. Like there's it's a job that she's doing. She's basically after Buddy Rogers. Exactly. Yeah. After Buddy Rogers said he didn't want to do it anymore, he was like, I
don't want to do with that coked up motherfucker. Fuck that. Like,
but I do want to say that there's certain names that I like that always pops up in these dark side tales. Even from Vince always is gonna pop up. That's the guy that I will defend. That's the one guy I will defend. Don't look like that. Mm-hmm. He's defendable. He's the only one that's defendable. But
how?
I get why you're saying he is.
You defend, like you out there for your talent.
I get it.
You do what you have to do to keep your talent. He's not like, this is the 80s. Come on, like I spoke to Tev earlier in the weekend. We were talking about how it like correlates to NFL. Like
murder is murder, dude. Whether it happens in the 80s or now.
Of course.
There's no statute of limitations on it.
Of course. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying, like, you're just gonna look after your guy. If you really believe it, like Vince is the guy to have in your corner.
Fair, but how do you defend him practically getting him off of a murder beat? How do you defend that? Because you can defend Vince on a lot of things. How do you defend Vince on that?
The same way you could defend Roger Goodell or Jimmy, like these what's the other guy that owns everything in the NFL, that pretty much owns the NFL? Like, you're gonna defend your guy. If you don't believe it, if there's plausible deniability that you have and that you see and that you see with what he's telling you, and say, oh well, shit, fuck it.
Vince knew he killed him. Vince knew he killed her. That thing was, he was having too much money coming in.
Yeah, of course. You're gonna defend.
Don
Morocco.
Don Morocco.
Yeah.
They had that match leading up, around the same time. So of course
that
was protecting the card.
His investment. That's his investment.
But it's crazy too, because even
like talk about somebody's life. He basically said your daughter's life is worth $25,000.
That was nuts.
That I do not defend. I don't defend that.
That was nuts. I'm
not defending that.
At least a cool mill back then. Like it's not. Nobody's life is worth any amount. Like it's pretty much invaluable. But the thing is, $25,000. Like I could win that in a scratch off. Like.
Think about how much that's worth.
$25,000 was probably what we think is, to us would be $250,000 or
That's probably that's probably like $750,000.
Yeah.
Like that time to now, if you get the money that $25K is nothing today, but then that shit probably feels like $300,000.
$25K is equivalent to $58,371 today. That's what that is. You gotta hear my shit banging because in the 80s, in 1985, if you were to get $25,000, it's equivalent to 33,000. No, wait, hold on. It's equivalent to 58,000. 25K. So like today, today's 58,000 will be 25K back then.
Imagine what
Vince thought. No, dude. That's what Vince thought. Vince thought that this person's life was
haggle low.
He lowballed crazy low.
Haggle low. You start low and you raise the bar.
Average salary for the United States. Like that's crazy. Like you're gonna pay 1 year's salary for one person's life back in 1985. Like that for me, that's insane.
Like I said, haggle low. It's bullshit when it comes down to a person's life, but at the same time, you know what you deserve. Not that you deserve anything off of that, but you know what's right and what's wrong. You know
what you can sue for. You know, like what you can like. Yeah.
And at the same time, you might not even be able to sue because who's gonna get that case? 1, 2. How much is that lawyer gonna cost? And of course, they're gonna take it
from it too.
Exactly. What happens if they never win the case? They're going against WWE. Look what they did to pretty much every other case that's up against them. They just waste time on that. Like, okay, they'll keep going. They'll not show up to court.
Just tie you up in litigation.
Exactly. And then you have to pay, and the lawyer is not going to end up wanting to take that much amount of time to say.
But that's why you do a civil lawsuit. Because you're not suing the company. You're suing the person that's technically responsible. That's why they did that with Superfly after a while. They were just like, fuck it. They're like, let's do a civil lawsuit for wrongful death.
And they got the $500K, but they never went and got it.
Yeah. They never got shit. Like they won.
They never saw it.
They never paid it.
Well, that means, if you don't follow up.
It's not about following up. It's just about like, if he ain't have the money, he ain't have the money. What the fuck was he gonna do? Know what I mean? Even if they probably did follow up, but they were just like, how is he gonna pay? You know?
You want to figure out something. Your old dad's going to be on somebody's TV show.
So on the initial call that she made to her sister, where she was like, "Oh, he's chasing me and whatever, this and that." Like, what the fuck do you think made her stay? Like, because clearly he had issues. A lot of people said the same thing. Like, especially in the family, whenever he was over and whatnot, that he would just be in the corner by himself, not talking to anybody, barely talking to Nancy. Like he grew up a hard life, like most people do, like that turn to wrestling for some odd reason. It's just a far cry for that. But like everything that we've seen in terms of Dark Side of the Ring, like it has like you've had a fucked up upbringing to a certain extent. Like he's always been homeless or this and that. And it's just like why do you think she didn't like react and just like get away from him during that initial like, oh, he's chasing me, that call to his sister, and then the line goes dead, and then the sister has to wait until the next fucking morning to get a phone call back from, oh no, everything's fine. Like, at what
do you guys
point?
think? I'm not answering that. What do you guys think?
I mean, more than likely it's fear off rip. Like,
sorry, I had to say this because he just.
I don't even say anything.
Continue. So I know why you've asked, but continue.
Now I feel like automatically that's just fear, you know. Like she's not going to be protected. Like if she left him.
True, and they did say like she, even though growing up in Brooklyn, like she lived a very sheltered life. They said that was like one of the things they said, like, and it's hard to live a sheltered life in New York, most of all. And also depends on like your parents and how they raise you and whatnot. But for the most part, like
That sounds like
usually like when it comes to New Yorkers, like we're kind of smart about certain things, like certain street smart, and not even street smart, just like overall sensing shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like we have that extra little sense that most other people wouldn't have in certain situations. But like she just was devoid of that. Like her sisters picked up on it. Her mom kind of came around to it. Her stepdad didn't like Jimmy
immediately.
Jimmy Snuka. Exactly. So like it's how come there was so attuned? Like, did she fall in love that fucking quickly? Like we know the term like love is blind and shit, but like did she fall in love that fucking quickly and that hard? Or like, you know, like one thing that he said was fear. That's obviously like possibly one of the things. Like, you know, it's like that Austin Powers thing when he sees the fucking steamroller coming through mad slow, mad far away. He's like, ah! Like he's just waiting to die instead of moving. But it's like it's pretty much like that's what you're staring down, and it happened multiple times. Like you got chased that one time that you called your sister. I'm pretty sure there were multiple incidents in which they
just the fact that he was in her house and he choked the sister is crazy to me.
He didn't choke the sister. He just made like the fucking like he would. He was like, I need you to shut the fuck up right now. And I was just like, I'm like,
you're in my house and you do that in any way, shape, or form. If you call the cops whether you have bruises on your neck or not, they're gonna believe her and they're gonna ask questions.
Exactly. So then after that, like his apology was here's some cocaine. Like that's like the like that was your apology.
I just love the age.
I laughed so hard when I saw, like, I shouldn't be laughing at that, but like that when she was just like, yeah, he just put a white packet in my hand and it was cocaine, and I was just like,
that's how you know he was really that fucked up.
So that's why like I was thinking as to why, like,
how high was he at that moment though?
That's the other thing. That's why I'm like going back to the.
Yeah, you can have some coke if I'm on coke too.
Exactly. Like I'm thinking the title of the Crime and Sports episode for that was, what was it? It was something with like Forrest Gump or some shit like that. Like
the Forrest Gump of murder?
Forrest Gump of wrestling or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but something
similar. That's what it was called.
Yeah, the Forrest Gump of wrestling. It's just like it. When I thought about that, when I was hearing what they were saying about him, how he acted, I was just like, then like I mixed both of them together. I was just like, that title's not wrong. Like either he was too high or just couldn't function at all. Like did they say at one point that like he didn't read? He just fucking signed any paperwork that Vince made him sign?
Yeah, he couldn't read or write.
Yeah. His wife was saying that.
That's what I'm saying. The brother Vinny, he had his back. Like he had to.
No, he didn't have his back. That's not having his back. That's called taking advantage of somebody, not having somebody's back.
It's both those things.
Mm-hmm.
You're protecting. As far as covering up a murder, that's brother shit. That's like if like I know you fucked up, but I'm gonna protect you as far as I can. And for his own personal gain, you're gonna work for me, and we're gonna slide you these papers that you have to sign, or you're not gonna get paid because I protected you from going to jail. I protected my investment at this time. So when I reach out to you, it's an automatic something that you have to do.
You should be Vince for Halloween.
Yeah, you got the hair. You just have to cut it.
You should be Vince for Halloween.
I got the walk. I do it. Come on, listen. No matter, like, billionaires are gonna do it. Millionaires are gonna do it. He's not the only millionaire to have had done this. Is it right? Of course not.
You gotta be Vince hairdo though, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have the same hairdo that Trips had on Raw that time.
with walk.
I got a gray suit too. Don't make me.
Do it.
And George could be, the Stooges.
He is definitely a stooge. All right, so Eve, just on you, how you feel about it? Because like just the idea of one, Vince protecting his investment.
No, it's covering up a murder. Don't put it that way. Let's say it how it is. He was covering up a murder.
Covering up a murder to protect his investment.
That's better.
Thank you.
He basically covered murder.
Yeah.
The way he did this Florida move right now, they gave Florida 20 mil.
20 million.
That's it. Well, you got to remember that. How much do you think that they were going to make for WrestleMania?
More. Easily.
Of course, more. Yeah. A portion for nothing. Why not?
That's probably like
600 million.
How much were they projected?
I think it's like 300 million in the weekend.
That's not even one. That's not even a fucking
1/10. That's not even 1/10.
Yeah, it's not. It's below 110. Like, if you're really gonna do that, I'd be like, yo, hit me with 50. Fuck out of here. Like, you want to be deemed essential? Like, hit with some more. At least fucking 1/6 of the shit or 1/3 of it. Like, you know. Yeah. But Vince P. Vince. But of course, that wasn't Vince that did it. It was his wife that did it.
But Linda did that?
Yeah.
Shout out to Linda. I fucking love Linda. She's amazing.
Before we keep getting off track.
She's a down ass chick.
Oh my god.
The Snuka deal. It's hard to try and look at it as an accident. There's a lot of the evidence does show that it was a homicide.
It's a coked up accident.
The coroner, who did the autopsy, even wrote in his letter that he thinks it should be treated as a homicide until, otherwise. But nobody acted on that. Then again, I was speaking to Kula earlier about it. It's like, you can't really, like, when it comes to, like, these murders, like, Benoit, you see, you try to say, well, there's the CTE.
Yeah.
Snuka definitely had CTE. Definitely. I mean, he was doing those headbutt moves back in the day also. I'm not saying
CTE, steroids, and coke, dude. That's like the worst trifecta in the world.
The worst cocktail you can ever have.
That's the worst cocktail ever,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying same thing with Benoit is no excuse for what was done, but, he probably wasn't himself. And he was never really himself because, people were already saying he was a wacky person because of the coke. So imagine. That's like 3 different personalities right there, all talking at the same time.
So like cooler then.
Yeah.
Sure. You hoe.
Yeah. No, I agree because it's like you don't know which one you're gonna deal with for the most part, and like if you have those three things like all combined into one, it does create unfortunately the perfect opportunity for an accident to happen.
An accidental death.
I wouldn't fully call it accidental death if he's.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying
that's one thing that is gonna cause. That is gonna cause accidental death. I'm not saying that this was the case of that.
This is why I'm saying it's not accidental because of the fact that it was kind of rumored and already kind of known that there was fucking domestic abuse already between the two. That's why for me, I can't really say accident. If it happened the one time that there was actually a domestic incident and he accidentally killed her and that, I'll be like, okay, that's an accidental death. The other times, if you're knowingly beating her, regardless if you're on coke, regardless if you're on fucking rage, or I can't really call for the CTE, but those two at least, like, you gotta, if there's a pattern, it's eventually gonna lead to death like that. And that's why you see a bunch of these cases, even like in like other cases in the world, like those patterns eventually lead to death. If a woman's getting beaten like that, the chance of death goes up tremendously each time it happens. So like if that was going on, if it happened the one time, like I said, had it been accidental that one fucking time he actually hit her and she hit her head on something and she had a subdermal hematoma that she couldn't go to the hospital for and she just died from it, I would understand accidental death.
So what exactly do you think happened? Do you think she was already dead before he went to the show, or what? Do you not believe the fact that his side of the story is that she fell?
I think he pushed her. I think he pushed her, and I think she fell in the room and hit her head. It's very easy to hit your head on a corner of something and like get knocked out and fucking die. If you hit the wrong spot on your fucking head, you're done. The thing is, at the same time, if you paid attention to like the autopsy, what was said about it, she had ligature marks on her fucking neck. That means she was getting choked out at one point. She had cuts and bruises on other parts of her body. That means she was getting her ass whooped on top of getting
well, we know that there was domestic. We know that there was domestic abuse. That we know. But what I'm also asking is as far as
I think he killed her in a rage. Unfortunately,
I think so too. But what I'm also asking is like, what do you think happened as far as that car accident? His side of the story. Do you think not the car accident? Her going outside to pee and
that's all bullshit. That never happened because they were Rikishi. Rikishi pretty much just nixed all of that shit.
That's Rikishi's twin brother. His twin brother. It's Sam Fatu. It's not like
he, even though whatever Rikishi's brother does, say, why does he wait 30 years to mention that? Now, think about it. If she did fall, and bang her head on something, maybe she had a concussion, and she didn't know it. She was already getting beat up, Maybe she had a concussion, took a nap, and never woke up.
Yeah, I can see this stemming from like a long ass fight to like that also happening at the rest stop or whatever, and some more shit happening.
But this is my thing. Sam Fatu said he didn't say that they did stop, and he never said that they didn't stop. Like, he said he'd never heard of that story of her getting out to pee and slipping and hitting her head because he was in the car. He would remember that, especially if it was that. I'm sorry, if he's putting a face right now, but the thing is, if that day, that car ride is potentially tied to somebody dying, you're gonna remember practically every facet of that fucking car ride. And for him to have a gap in his memory saying that, this is the first I'm hearing of her stopping to go use the bathroom, because he was in the car with them the whole time from point A to B. So if he's not corroborating that story, clearly there's a mismatch there.
Everybody believed that they were alone in the car until 30 years later when he came out.
Exactly.
Everybody except for the detective.
But that's what I'm saying. Why come out 30 years later?
Who's it gonna hurt? It's not gonna hurt the person that you care about. Sadly, there is no gain. There's no loss and there's no gain. Maybe the gain is we'll talk about you, but I don't think anyone wants to be talked about in this light about withholding certain information. So even the wife said, the widow said that like wrestlers, they don't remember fucking head trauma and injuries and all of this shit. They don't really remember. I don't believe that, but to me that just sounds like a defense for the husband, for Snuka.
That's a cop out.
Yeah,
honestly, it's a cop out.
It's bullshit defense and it's a cop out. That is definitely true. But how we feel about the detective that was sitting in the chair after?
Oh, the detective's full of shit.
He irked me so much throughout that shit, man. Just looking away from the camera, avoiding contact with like the camera, just.
All the telltale signs of being a liar were on his face, like every single one.
Is what gave it away.
Yeah.
His stutter.
The stutter, the bullshit joke that he made about like, oh, what, somebody was in the car with them? And then the documentarian said, yeah, somebody was in the car. He's like, what? Like his face said, oh shit. So I think he was actually in the car. I think he was in the car. I think Sam was actually in the car.
He was in the car. He said he was in the car.
He said he was there.
Yeah, no, but I'm like, out of everything, like you can't have to take everything with a grain of salt. I believe he was in the car too, though.
Why would he say he was in the car if he was never in the car to begin with? You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm saying. Had he not been in the car, and had he not actually been in the car and he said he was in the car, then that's a whole different story. But him saying that he's in the car completely contradicts the fact that there were two people in there, and it contradicts the story of her taking a piss outside on the curb and busting her ass, hitting her head, and getting back in the car. Something like that you would remember if you were in the car. That's why it doesn't add up. That's the thing.
You got to be real clumsy if you're really doing that. You running back after you use the bathroom and you fall forward and hit your head on the car.
It could be an incline, bro. It could be an incline.
It could be.
You could lose your footing, slip, and hit your head.
Or you could be under the influence.
Either or.
It's a lot of
that. Everybody was like, but the thing is that for me, that fucking pissing story never took place. That never happened. That honestly could not have happened if Sam Fatu was in the car and he didn't corroborate that story. It's that simple.
Okay, so let's go back to this many hour long Vince conversation that happened. This Vince session that they all had, this meeting.
With the cops behind doors?
Yeah. With everybody. I'm sure Sam was part of that too if he was actually.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't part of that shit.
What? Exactly my point. If his story was real, he would have been in there. If he was
it wouldn't have.
It wouldn't have.
Dude,
because then
if the original story from what happened?
The original story was that there were two people in the car. You know, there would be no reason for Sam to be in any meeting with anybody.
Exactly. You know? If you don't know that person's in the car at all, cops or Vince or lawyers, there's no reason to call on somebody else and be like, yo, come here. You know what I mean? It's a pretty much don't get involved. Something happened. Yeah. Oh, shit, what happened? You don't know what happened, but you're like, oh, shit, how did she die? Until he heard way later that he said, until he was asked pretty much during this interview, like, hey, like, did you know about this story? That, you know, she got out once he used the bathroom, came back, slipped, and hit her head. He was like, no, I was in the car the whole time. Like, practically, he was just like, no, like, I didn't hear that until now. So that's like, there's no reason for him to be involved. Secondly, the original story was she busted her ass in the motel, in the room. That's what the original story was. Then he swapped it up, and then he eventually ended on it happened while we were driving. So that's why bullshit number one, bullshit number two.
He had a concussion after he whooped her ass. That's pretty much what it is. Allegedly, what it sounds like.
Or he whooped her ass.
Again.
Pushed her. He whooped her ass, pushed her. She fell and hit her head and fucking died. Yeah. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Because like there's no way that car story happened. It would be, if that car story happened, Sam Fatu would be like, yeah, that shit happened. I remember. It's that simple. Had it actually happened.
But at the same time, you don't want to incriminate yourself, because if you were there, he really did actually incriminate
himself. That's not his fault though.
Because if he was there, because it's also a situation where it's like, okay, you don't want to be a part of this. Vince or whoever would say, or even Snuka would keep him away from the situation. Like, you don't want to be a part of this. I told them that you were not there. Don't ever say you were there. And maybe he slipped up with saying that he was actually there.
That's not an incriminating thing, though.
It is.
It's not.
It's not incriminating, but it's still like you're a witness.
Just because you were there.
But if they found out you lied about something, that also makes you an accomplice.
No, it doesn't, because let's say us four were in the car, right? And I slip, I hit my head, eventually fucking die off of some shit, and then Tev wasn't in the fucking car, right? God forbid. And Tev wasn't in the car. Or they just thought Tev wasn't in the car. Him seeing that happen to me doesn't make him an accomplice, doesn't make him anything. It's just a witness statement. That's all it is. If they find out that he was in the car, that's all it is. Oh, did this happen? Yes. Explain to me how it happened. This, and this. Okay, cool. Thank you. That's it. There's nothing incriminating about being a witness.
But if there's bad intentions, if anyone knows that there's bad intentions that's going to happen, that's where it becomes incriminating.
How do you tie bad intentions of beating your girl to her slipping while taking a piss and hitting her head outside? Completely two different places.
Not reporting
that. What? Not reporting her busting her ass?
Not reporting domestic abuse. You're pretty much a part of that. Not to say that everyone, and that's not always the case.
But I'm saying it's one has nothing to do with the other. They're completely unrelated things. You know what I mean? He's trying to cover up the domestic abuse, her hitting her head and all that shit, with the story of her busting her ass. That's like saying. I completely get that. So like that's where I'm lost as to what one has to do with the other. Like you're trying to tie two together when they don't really tie together.
Because it turns into a murder case.
But domestic abuse turning into that murder case has nothing to do with an potential isolated incident of her busting her ass on a highway after peeing. You know what I mean? Okay, regardless.
So if the cops know about this, they're gonna want to investigate this situation. They're gonna question. My point is, if they know about this, if they find this out, even that little point of him being there and him knowing this is knowing that one little thing, they're gonna ask a million questions just about the drive from one place to another place and what happened when you guys got to the hotel that all three of y'all were staying at. That's when he becomes an accomplice, because
that's not an accomplice if you're there. Look, let's say you're Jimmy Fly.
Like no snitching, let's say you're snitch because you're a part of it. It's the same thing.
Let's say you're Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I'm the cop, and I'm like, hey, who was in the car with you driving there? It was just me and her. How the fuck am I supposed to know as a cop that there was somebody else in there? Are you sure there was nobody else there? No. Is this exactly what happened? This is exactly what happened. They never even went to investigate where it happened. Of course. They did none of that shit.
Care. If they wanted to, if this was in Allentown and Allentown was a big wrestling city where they needed the money, the revenue, okay, no, everything is fine. Your show is later today. Nothing's going to change. You're gonna bring in however many hundred thousands or millions possible.
What I'm saying is, me as a cop, or whoever the fuck is interrogating Jimmy Superfly, how the fuck are they supposed to know there was a third party in the car?
If you're Batman,
that's what I'm saying. Exactly. He had nothing. He had fucking nothing.
If you're a detective, you're gonna find out and you're gonna really investigate, unless you're being forced to not investigate, and he was. So it is definitely a hyperbole of a situation that I'm really talking about, because the detective didn't know and got paid to not really look. So it really doesn't matter, but I'm just speaking based on a hypothetical situation.
But you're creating a hypothetical out of nothing. That's what I'm saying. You can't tie the two together.
You can definitely tie it to doing that. That's the argument. I'm going to school for criminology, all right?
and fail that test. Hard.
Yeah. All right.
You gonna be at the test like,
police! Help!
That's you.
Say that. A detective would never say that.
You will. But honestly speaking, like the thing is, like whether he was in the car or not, which he was, obviously, like it's weird for him to find out that story 30 years later, supposedly that she busted her ass outside. Like for him not to know that, and that's tying him to the same car ride he was in from point A to point B. Like for him to never hear that and for him to like not corroborate it, that pretty much sets it in stone. Like that did not happen. That could not have happened. That story couldn't have happened.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. What's the next question? What we doing now? What's the next topic based on this? Whether it's believable or not. What do you got, E?
What's the next episode?
I don't know. Hold on, let me see. I have it up right here.
Dino Bravo.
Yeah, Dino Bravo.
I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea who the fuck he is.
I don't know who that is either. I'm really interested. I have no idea who Herb
I
Abrams.
think he was a French-Canadian wrestler.
Dino Bravo. Oh, he has his first name. Adolfo Bresciano. That's his actual name.
Italian Canadian. That's what he was.
Yeah. Dino.
Yeah,
What's this gonna be about? Oh, it's the murder of Dino Bravo. So he gets killed.
You say he was shot like
it's a murder
times or something like that.
All right, that's what it was.
Yeah. He had mob ties like Drake.
Yeah.
The Jewish
mob. I
mob.
told you there's no Canadian mob. Stop
he didn't do shit. That's not who would have killed him then.
Jewish mob.
Right? You never know. The mob knows no border.
I mean, I don't know this guy, but like, hey, I'm good for a good mob story, I guess.
That could have been the story with this if Nancy Argentino was actually involved in that.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm just saying based off the last
Just
name.
Stop it. Just stop. Stop.
It wasn't even supposed to be a joke. That was another hyperbole, okay? So fuck off.
It's not a hyperbole. No, it's not. It's just you talking out of your ass.
What if?
It's a difference.
Ooh.
It's not. Jesus Christ. And what do we have after that? That's what Owen Hart?
Yeah.
That's last.
There's still like 3 more before Owen Hart.
Are there?
Yeah, we have Dino, we have David Schultz, we have Herb Abrams, and then we have the
so 4 more episodes. Oh shit. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Good.
How do I search? There we go.
Well, I'm just letting you know I'm gonna cut out the last 5 to 7 minutes. Anyways, with that being said,
come on.
The episode that we have. Thanks again for joining us. It was very insightful trying to figure out what the hell Kula meant by implicating other people when they had nothing to do with anything. But with
you're a witness. You're a witness. You're there. You see something, say something. He obviously did not.
You see something that never happened. Either ways, that's the end of the episode. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on Twitter at Pokes and Chokes. Myself at _ Mr. Alex 25 _ The Liar on at NU _ KEWLA.
That's not what I am. You're son of a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, so you're a son of a bitch. You go with that one too.
Your mother.
Also follow Seven on Twitter at Anomalous Fringe and on Instagram at Anomalous _ Enigma and little E at World of Bando on Twitter and thing. But with that being said, that's the end of the episode. Let's annoy him. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for having me here. I'm probably just gonna cut out everything that he said during the show and just leave us 3 talking. But yeah, peace out.